Good evening. Welcome to the July 23rd City of Greenville Council meeting. Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor White,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez, Councilmember Martinez, Councilmember Ortiz. Here. Councilmember Tipton.
Present.
We'll move to excuse council member absences. This agenda item allows city council to excuse the absences of council members not present at the meeting. If all council members are present, this agenda item will be skipped, but we have two members who are not here. Open to public comment first, and then I'll make a couple of comments. All right, seeing no public comment. There's a couple.
Gabby,
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, City Council members. I wanted to share another horrific case of child sexual assault that was reported on
Gabby,
Friday.
Gabby,
Yes?
this is only for comments regarding the excuse of the council member.
Oh, no, just kidding. Okay. Just kidding. I apologize.
All
My
right.
mistake.
Seeing no public comment, we did receive a call from Councilmember Martinez, or actually an email, saying that she had an obligation, I believe in the valley or something, a business obligation. And also we did hear from Councilman Rodriguez saying that she is coming to the meeting. She's running late. She's in traffic from here and between here and Salinas. So I'll entertain a motion on those, both of those.
Second.
For both?
Yeah, for both.
Second for both? Okay, then moved in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, those are both excused. Okay. We'll do our best here. All right, invocation by Pastor Ramiro Lugo.
Father God, we glorify you. We give you thanks for everything you do for us. We thank you for allowing us to live in the greatest nation on earth. And right now we humbly ask that you lead our city government in any decisions that they make that will better our community. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Right, will you please all stand for the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda review.
No changes, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Public comments from the audience regarding items not on the agenda. This portion of the agenda allows an individual the opportunity to address the council on any items not on closed session, consent calendar, public hearings, and city council business. Under state regulation, no action can be taken on non-agenda items, including issues raised under this agenda item. Members of the public should be aware of this when addressing the council regarding items not specifically referenced on this agenda. Do we have any public comments?
Hi, good evening. My name is Jurgen Smith. And about a month and a half ago, I came up here and I reported that police reports have not been published in our local newspapers. The newspaper is not able to publish them if they don't receive them. And I was informed that that would be corrected. And as of last week, still, there's nothing there, okay, regarding of publishing what has been going on in our city. It's all about transparency. If we are not transparent with the public, that means we are hiding stuff from the public. What are we hiding? Okay? And it shouldn't be happening. Okay? I have been involved in a couple of incidents here in Greenfield. I wear many hats here in our community, state of California, the county, okay, and with a federal agency. And I live here, okay, and we should not be hiding stuff from our people here in town, okay? They need to know, so that way they can also help out and be part in solving some of these problems. And if we're not informing the public, we're not getting the public's help. And we all need to work together as a team, okay? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Lourdes Sierra, and I am here to just ask that you continue to consider an issue that I brought before you in the past, and that is to create or look at what is happening with any kind of city ordinance allowing for a trash bin placement on the curbside of our street, and that violators who block those trash bin spaces be fined. If we just leave it up to people to be neighborly, that would be great, except that is not always the case. And some people, one week they might leave you space, another week they might not. And so I think it's important to take a look at that if you can in the near future. It would be very helpful for those of us who struggle with that. Still is a problem when people have many cars that take up two sides of the street, well, both sides of the street. So thank you very much for your attention to that.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else in council chambers?
I'm Bob Urquidez. I didn't hear you say about the city council members that were not present tonight. I have an issue because it seems like every month, and I come to the meetings, that one or the other is never here. And I'd like to see a full quorum of city council members, and the same two always missing, or both of them missing at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? If not, I do see one hand raised.
Gabby?
Gabby, go ahead.
Yes, good evening, City Council members. I wanted to share another horrific case of child sexual assault on a child under the age of 14 was reported on the Facebook Greenfield page, the police, page, which happened between 2015 to 2019. I've been advocating for 4 months for resources, and it's been 4 cases since then. Councilman Tipton, you talk about protecting cats almost every meeting. How about protecting the children of Greenfield? For Councilwoman Rodriguez, who acknowledges a resident who talked about the LGBTQ events lacking in Greenfield, I appreciate you addressing his concerns. I have been attending meetings and you stood in silence while I've been advocating for resources to address child sexual abuse. Is it because it's me and I'm not a resident of Greenfield, therefore you ignore it? Yet you have outsiders and outside organizations such as LULAC come in and advocate for changes. I may not be a resident, but I am advocating for children who have been sexually molested and raped in the city of Greenfield. You say you are an advocate, but your lack of urgency and actions show the contrary. I've been asking, what are the statistics from the Greenfield Police Department on child sexual abuse to provide to the community and start advocating and protecting the children in Greenfield? What is the city doing to outreach to the community on resources Greenfield has in regards to domestic violence and sexual assault? I am very disappointed in you all for the lack of actions from you all. I also like to share that I've been coming here for now about a year, and every time, sometimes every time I come here, I address the city council members, not the audience. I've been attacked multiple times from President of LULAC, Beatrice Diaz, and you have not called point of order. Your time is to hear from the community about your responsibilities and your duties, not to address other community members. I ask you take direct action to address this issue. I've been asking about resources for the community. And again, I will not be silenced, intimidated, or feel bad about me advocating for children of Greenfield. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I do see one more hand.
Beatriz Diaz.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I talked to you guys about regarding the lines being painted. This morning, I was going to drop my granddaughter, to Burger King. And you can't even see the left turn, going into Burger King. And this individual came right on that and started, honking at me and flipping me the bird and everything, that I was in the wrong aisle. Well, I hope that you guys can go ahead and really look at that issue, unless somebody's gonna really have an impact in there. And by then it might be too late. You could have a dead person or two persons. So please, that would be a very good place to start with, because you can't even see the lines on there. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other public comments? If not, we'll move on to comments from City Council. Alderman Tipton.
Thank you. I have just a few tonight. First thing is obviously we're back into a heat situation. Please watch out for the kids, the elderly, anybody who can't communicate effectively that they are having problems with the heat. Watch out for them, including your pets, especially when you're out walking your dogs in the heat. Remember that asphalt is going to be much hotter than the outside air, so watch out for them. Obviously, we do have 2 fires going right now. Obviously, we hope we won't need to prepare for evacuation. But if you do, just remember, make sure you take your medications with you, any important papers, make sure you have anything that your kids need, make sure your phones are charged, make sure your car has fuel in it, things like that. Make sure you're ready to go. The next one I'm going to harp on is stop signs and speed limits once again. On my way over here tonight, I watched a car in front of me run not 1, not 2, but 3 different stop signs, go right through them at full speed. I'm just awed at the fact that people just don't even slow down for them anymore. Abandoned vehicles, I've been getting lots of concern about abandoned vehicles in the area, and not necessarily just abandoned vehicles, but vehicles that haven't been moved for quite some time. I've been referring them to call in and the non-emergency number and try to get them dealt with. But especially in some of the residential areas, we've got a lot of abandoned, or I won't say abandoned vehicles, we've got a lot of vehicles that have been parked longer than that 72-hour limit. Around my house, I know there are several where there's actually caked on dirt on the windshield, so it's obvious that they haven't been moved. So please watch out for abandoned vehicles and report them if necessary. COVID is coming around again. This morning at Salinas Valley Hospital, we had 27 employees that had COVID, and there were 62 people in the hospital with COVID. So COVID is coming back around. Please watch out. Please be careful.
Going back real quick about the vehicles, I've been getting a lot of complaints about commercial vehicles being in the residential districts, particularly farm trucks that are being parked in the residential districts. And the problem is that these farm trucks are not just your regular pickup trucks, they're the equipment body pickup trucks that are about a foot and a half wider than regular vehicles. So you get one of those parked on both sides of the street, you've just taken up 3 extra feet of the travel space. So especially on some of these narrower streets, like down in the Creek Bridge Homes, that really takes up a lot of the space. So please don't park your commercial vehicles in the residential zones. As a matter of fact, it's actually prohibited in some of the areas, commercial vehicles over 5 tons. I'd actually like to see the PD out there enforcing that a little bit more if possible. We've been getting the CSO reports. I actually like what I'm seeing from the CSO reports. I still do want to see something about the events that are self-initiated, because I know that the CSOs are supposed to be out there looking for things, and I don't see that happening. It may be happening, but we're not seeing it. So I know for a fact I've seen CSOs drive right past things that, in my opinion, I would think that they would stop and at least look at, but they just go right by them. So if we could get that. I'm glad to see discussion of the parking ordinance on the council agenda tonight. Been looking forward to that for a while. And I know Dr. Villarreal has been pushing for that for quite some time, so I'm glad to actually see that. And one other thing is I've noticed a lot of information on the PD's webpage about some of the child sexual abuse resources. Like, for example, we sent 2 officers to the event in Atlanta. I'd actually like to see them come in and do a presentation on what they learned and what they're bringing back into the city. And I think that would actually go a long way to helping Gabby understand that we actually are trying to take this seriously. It's just not all happening out in the open. And which also goes to Mr. Smith's comment is we need to be a lot more open about what's going on, and we need to be presenting some of this, not just posting it on Facebook, but actually coming out, doing community events. Maybe we can get the coffee with a cop coming back up so that people can go out to Starbucks and meet with the cops and discuss what's going on and any concerns that they have and do things like that. So I'd like to see that happening again. That's all I have for today.
Thank you.
Good evening. I have a couple of, well, I have a number of things today. We had a listening session with our county supervisor, Chris Lopez. And one of the things that he did talk about was the trucks that they have now with the hot, I don't know what it is that you
Hot
can put
mix.
hot mix that we can do with our potholes. And he said that now they have 3 trucks that can do that. And I'm hoping that we reach out to them as soon as possible so we can start getting that truck over here and getting our alleyways and everything else where there's a pothole fixed. Another thing, a community water center invited me to sit in with them on a listening session that they're having on July 31st. This is for the water issue that's over on 12th Street. And I have accepted. I would like to hear what they have to say. So just for transparency, I'm just letting the rest of the council know that I will be attending that. I'm really happy to see that the striping was completed on 12th Street. Thank you, Jamie, and your staff. But I have a kind of a follow-up. Are all the schools supposed to be striped? We have schools starting in a couple of weeks here. And I did notice today in driving around that some of them were really faded. And I'm wondering if we're going to get those done before school starts. I still haven't received an update or any other information regarding the fire hydrants that are not working right now. So if I could get that, that would be great. If we could even post it on social media. So the community members that were concerned about that can have that update, especially today when we're looking at a fire on the west side and a fire on the east side. It's imperative that we have every fire hydrant in this town working. I also noticed that we have no banners up, and I'm kind of wondering what's going on there. Are we ordering some? Are we waiting on them? Or what? So if I can get an update on that, that would be great. I was also contacted by an organization called Employ America, and I believe that they're going to be reaching out to our city manager, Paul. This group is trying to help developmental disabled people get jobs. And they're really reaching out to a lot of the organizations, a lot of businesses in South Monterey County right now. And I think it's really important that we be inclusive and we do the best that we can to get maybe jobs in the city, or if we have other connections, maybe with Fabiola. I'm not sure how you would work this out, but I really do think that it's important that we do meet with their representative and discuss the possibility of bringing some of these people that are enrolled with them into our city to do some work for us. And lastly, one of our callers called in about sexual assaults victims, and we have what it seems like a very high number here in Greenfield. I'm also very concerned about it. I've had numerous discussions with Chief. I'm happy to see Captain here, even though Chief isn't here. I know in my discussions with Chief that you are doing a lot, and I want to assure our caller that we are doing a lot. But my question is that can we do more? Are we giving our police department everything that they need to combat this? I don't think it's ever going to go away, but maybe we can limit the amount of victims that we have in Greenfield. It seems that every story that comes up is somebody in Greenfield. And it's alarming for any of us that have children, even if you don't have children. We have to keep our community safe, especially our children. And so again, if we can do more to help, if we can vote on something as a council or something that we're not doing or that we can do extra, please let us know. And so we can, see if we can make that happen. And I just wanted to give a shout out to our District 3. We have so many people in District 3. It's all over town, but they're doing such a great job in keeping up with their homes. We have a lot of people doing yard work, ADUs, putting new roofs on, cleaning up their gardens, just keeping everything clean. And it's really nice to be able to walk. And especially on the weekends, we're all outside sweeping, we even sweep our own streets over there, on District 3. And I just want to make sure that they know that it's appreciated and, to keep up the good work. And also, Jamie, I did notice that the ponds were clean. Thank you very much. That's all.
All right. Thank you very much. I have a few things tonight. I want to thank Randy Ryder, the Deputy District Director for Caltrans for District 5. I reached out to her about weeds and grass along the freeway. They were a fire hazard, as well as they made the town look unkempt. She was able to get the crew to move the mowing up the list for Greenfield. It looks much more attractive. It now looks like a great place to stop and have lunch or fill up or charge up, and also it removed a big fire hazard. So thank you again to Brandy Ryder for Caltrans for being so responsive to my request. I want to announce Blue Zone walks are back every Tuesday at 9 o'clock. A walking group meets at the gazebo to exercise and socialize. I wasn't able to participate this week, but I'll be there next week. Come out and join us. I attended the July Senior Social at the Memorial Hall. Lunch was served and some great music was provided by our own Leo Trujillo. I think about 75 people attended. So thank you to Fabiola and Angela for your hard work organizing this monthly event for our community. Just a reminder about National Night Out, August the 6th at the Gazebo Park. Lots of fun and prizes and a great way to interact with our police department. So that's might address a little bit of Mr. Tipton's request there. And I just found out today that we're having some music at the gazebo. Friday, July 26th, music tribute to the best of the accordion music. Friday, August 23rd, music tribute to Selena. And Friday, September 20th, the best in banda music, Banda La Grande. Save the dates. That's from 6 to 8 at the Village Green Park, 98 South El Camino Real. And there is a pedestrian safety class that is happening That is July 31st from 3:30 to 4 here in council chambers. It's a Monterey County Health Department and the Greenfield Police Department are having a pedestrian safety presentation. There'll be snacks and raffles will be provided, so please attend to that. Get some information and have a good time. Finally, I just wanted to support Councilwoman on the fire hydrants. I think we do need to get those up to date, get those cool repaired. So if we can move that up the list and get a report on that, that would be appreciated. All right, that's it for tonight. Consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and may be approved by one action of the city council unless a request for removal for discussion or explanation is received prior to the time council votes on the motion to adopt. I will open consent calendar up to public comments. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council. Do we have anything that anybody wants pulled or questioned on?
I'll move approval of consent.
It's been moved. I need a second. Been moved and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Mayor's presentations, proclamations, communications, and resolutions. Introduction of the youth commissioners.
Hello, Mayor and City Council. Thank you so much for having us. I wanted to, and to the community, my name is Fabiola from the Community Engagement Department. I wanted to take this opportunity to briefly introduce our new youth commissioners. I'm very excited to have them and proud to see our young leaders step up in the way that these two young ladies have done so. So we have here Claudia Gonzalez and Janet Campos. Their summer training started on June 19th here at City Hall. They've been getting to know about local government, learning about leadership by interviewing some of the department heads and some of the council members, I believe. Sorry,
Thursday.
Okay, coming up soon. So I know those are still being scheduled. They've been busy working on the official Harvest Festival flyer. So we hope to present it to the community very soon. Many of their priority tasks will be based on the feedback that we received from the 2024 Youth Summit. I do wish I knew some more about those details, but I'm sure they'll fill me in during their meeting here this week. They each prepared a few words to share with you, so I'll invite them to do that. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Hello, my name is Claudia Gonzalez. I am an upcoming senior at Greenfield High School, and I am a youth commissioner for the Greenfield Youth Council. I primarily joined the Youth Council to give those who feel unheard an opportunity to speak on what they need through me. And most importantly, I just want to thank all of you for showing Jenna and I the support we need to be able to lead the Youth Council this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Janet Zenobia, and I'm entering my senior year of high school. I am a youth commissioner for the Greenfield Youth Council, and the reason why I joined the Youth Council was because I am passionate about advocating the rights and interests of the youth in our community, and I also like to be a part of the change for the youth here in Greenfield. As Claudia said, thank you for the support that you're giving us to be able to be. Excuse me. Yeah, that's all I have for today.
Thank you both so much. I appreciate
you.
it. And we're here if you have any questions. Otherwise, you can find us here if you have any questions for us or even on our social media. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's move to presentation accessory dwelling units.
Thank you. Let's see. Thank you, Mayor White, members of the city council.
We can't hear you, Paul.
No, I see that. Testing.
That's better.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor, members of the city council. Community Development thought that it was a good time tonight to update the city council regarding the Community Development Department's processing of accessory dwelling unit applications. Accessory dwelling units, known as ADUs, have been any units, backyard cottages, in-law suites, secondary units, and we recognize that they meet the needs of a wide range of purposes for families, students, elderly, in home health care providers, transitional and other circumstances. They really can benefit our community. State statutes since 2019, state statutes have been enacted making review of such projects ministerial. This is a very important change the way these applications are processed, because because discussing the ministerial processing of permits, because building permits are processed the exact same way. Ministerial, what this means is that the city has no discretion on these permits. We review them as they come based on one issue: do they comply with the California building code or safety codes such as fire? These statutes have been explicit for grounds to deny these permits, which are only for the provision of water and sewer or traffic flow. Essentially, safety purposes. Get the results of my presentation. The city has denied 2 ADU applications for these purposes. The only grounds to deny ADUs are city's inability to supply water and sewer, or, as I mentioned, traffic flow or other safety codes. Several things that we do not do here in the city. We do not waive permit fees. We do not waive impact fees. Unlike some jurisdictions who do this, we do not have pre-approved project plans. We believe that circumstances on the ground warrant a case-by-case review of our ADU projects. Also, the process that we've used for years and years for the review of building permits, that is going through interdepartmental review, works well and has worked well for many, many years. Do these things. There's real benefit to reviewing each ADU project on its own merits. Again, the city has no discretionary authority to say we will yes or no. We are compelled by law to approve every ADU application that is before us, so long as it complies with the California building code. And this is the only thing that we look at when we're reviewing these permits. Statute does allow the city to pass its own ADU ordinance. However, we've decided not to present to council an ordinance because any ordinance that might be approved by the city would have to be more permissive, not less permissive than what the state is already requiring of us. So it simplifies things by eliminating the additional confusion. as well. State issued a handbook that is available online that clearly clearly goes through all of the specific issues of interest by the legislation that is required. That said, let's review the results from Greenfield since 2020, which is when the law changed to make these projects ministerial. The city has approved 65 projects in every city council district, ranging from 6 in District 4 to 26 in District 3. District 1 has approved 19, and in District 2, city has 25 projects under review. Of these, the city is waiting for additional information from 17 applicants, and another 8 applications are under the current 60-day complete review. When I mentioned the 60-day complete review, the state has required that all applications must be approved within 60 days of a deemed complete application. And this is very important because some confuse this with it needs to be approved in 60 days, period. That's not what the law says. The law allows us 60 days to study an application submittal and get back to a customer with what is needed to complete their application. Reviewed the department among the 90 total applications that we've processed since 2020. To say that we have not exceeded that standard one time. We have always been within that 60-day window for compliance. Happens from time to time is that the passback process, when we provide information to the customer, we wait and wait and wait, because our policy, in 2 weeks of receipt of an application, we have comments back to our applicants. It's just when an applicant has not provided a complete application that it might seem project is delayed. Also, it's worth noting that if a jurisdiction somewhere else has pre-approved project plans where a customer can come in and 5 pre-approved project plans on the desk, that's going to get processed faster than Greenfield. And that is a policy decision that we made. Our departments appreciate review of each of the ADU projects, because I think in the 65 applications that we've already approved, seen a lot of interesting issues because of the way the city is held up. So the way the city is laid out with alleys and various other issues. So the average amount of time that it takes to approve these applications is 7.7 months when the applications are prepared by an architect, and a little bit over 8 months when it's prepared by a designer. Did a survey of our neighboring jurisdictions to just see what the others are up to. And King City and Gonzales have approved 26 ADUs, in the same number. Soledad has approved 84. So at 65, we feel we're pretty much in the hunt with the way we're processing these. So that concludes my remarks. I've left paper copies of the slides with the dice. If you'd like to, if I have any, I'll try and answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from council?
So is the 60 days calendar days or working days?
I can't answer that. I don't know, the law and in the handbook, it says 60 days. I might add, though, we haven't come even remotely, we haven't exceeded 30 days. So it's not, we haven't back in 2 weeks. That's our standard.
And Paul, if you want, I can answer that. It's calendar days.
That seems weird.
I didn't write.
All right. Any other questions?
Are you finding that some of these ADUs, are they in rentals or they're home owned or
I would say overwhelmingly they're rentals.
the renters?
Yes, ma'am.
When someone puts an ADU onto their home, does that, so when we do a rental registry, they're gonna go check in and, I don't know if that's right if you say it, but what I'm wondering is that, so does that mean more people can live in one home?
Yes, it does. It does. SB 9 was a piece of legislation just to illustrate briefly what the state is trying to do. Because if you've seen photos of Athens, Greece, I would recommend just go on the internet and look how dense it is. SB 9 said was if your property is zoned single family or multifamily, by right you can subdivide it, and that too is a ministerial process. So let's say you had a cul-de-sac that had 5 houses on it. By law, each parcel can split in half, so that one unit, that one parcel becomes 2, and on each parcel they can put a primary unit and an ADU unit. So, the law would allow a cul-de-sac with a density of 5 single-family residences on it to go to 20 without any public hearing, without any discretionary review by staff. And some would say, well, that's really extreme. That's significant density. The state would say, exactly. That's why we did it.
So if you have an ADU, you can rent it out. You can have your house rented out and rent out your ADU, whether it's the garage or something built in the back. And that can be a separate rental.
Correct. And you could have a junior ADU as well. So one parcel could have 3 units. You could have your primary house. You could have a garage conversion serving as a junior ADU. And you could have a detached ADU. Parcel. That's one reason that we really wanted to take a look at them and not automate these processes. The fire department needs to look at these. The public works department needs to look at them. And as I said, of the 65 approvals, we've denied 2. But if we weren't looking at them, they probably would have been approved.
All right, very good. Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
We'll move to public hearings. A1, adopt a resolution of the City Council, City of Greenfield, declaring the results of ballot tabulated in accordance with Article XIID of the California Constitution and California Government Code 53753, ordering improvements and confirming the diagrams and annual assessments for the Greenfield Lighting and Landscape Maintenance District Number 3, Zone 7, Magnolia Place, 2, annexation to Maintenance District 3. Pursuant to the Landscape and Lighting Act of 1972 for the 2024-25 fiscal year. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Hope you can hear me. I'm having a little bit of a problem with my camera.
We can't really hear you much.
Let me see. Okay, how is that a little better? Can you hear me now?
A little bit better, but it's still not very good.
How about that one?
That one's a little better.
Okay, that's what we'll go with. I apologize again, the camera is acting up. And apparently the microphone associated with it is, but found another option. Don't really need the camera to proceed. We have two public hearings this evening, and I can present background and analysis for both of them, and then you can proceed with conducting the two public hearings and taking appropriate action. This is similar to an action which you did last, I believe it was the end of May, where we annexed into Maintenance District number 3, the lighting and landscaping and streets and storm drains for the Walnut Avenue apartments. This is a similar action, annexing into Maintenance District number 3, the lighting and landscaping component and the streets and storm drains component for Magnolia Place 2 senior apartments. These are being added into the Maintenance Assessment District number 3 by way of requirement, a condition of approval for the development of these senior apartments. And the purpose is to maintain those improvements offsite and onsite that are under the jurisdiction and will be accepted and be taken on as the responsibility for maintenance by the Maintenance Assessment District number 3. The process is the same, and you've seen these annexations before. Back in April, you adopted a resolution to initiate proceedings for the annexation. And then we scheduled a public hearing date, which was originally set for May 28th, which was later reset because of a noticing issue, but that was reset for tonight. And so we're here having complied completely with the notification requirements. We sent a ballot to the sole property owner for their vote for annexing into the two maintenance assessment components for district number 3. And the purpose of this meeting this evening is to have a public hearing and receive any input or any concerns. Also, the council will receive and declare the results of balloting that is tabulated in accordance with the California Constitution and California Government Code, and then the council will order improvements and confirm the diagrams and annual assessments for the District of Greenfield. It's all in the resolution. The city clerk has received and will present the results of the tabulated ballot, the one ballot that was submitted. And then once she's made that declaration, then you can proceed with the public hearings and take action as needed.
So we did receive the ballot for the Magnolia Place 2 senior apartments annexation to the lighting and landscaping maintenance district number 3, and it was affirmative.
Thank you, Ann. All right, I will go ahead and open the public hearing. Anyone that would like to speak to K1? I believe that hand is in. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll just ask just in case. What is this?
Sorry, I didn't move anything, so I have no comment.
All right, thank you. All right. Seeing that, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. Council comments, review, and action. Questions from council? So this is bringing in Magnolia 2, the senior housing, correct?
That's correct.
open to a motion. Moved and seconded, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. A2, adopt a resolution of the City Council, City of Greenfield declaring the results of ballot tabulated in accordance with Article XIID of the California Constitution and the California Government Code 53753, ordering improvements and confirming the diagrams and annual assessments for the Street and Drainage Maintenance District 3, Zone 5, Magnolia Place 2, annexation to Maintenance District 3, pursuant to the Benefit Assessment Act of 1982, for the 24-25 fiscal year. Staff report, please.
The staff report's essentially identical to the previous one. And Anne, if you could read the results of the balloting.
We received the ballot for Magnolia Place number 2, Senior Apartments annexation to the Street and Storm Drains Maintenance District number 2, and it was affirmative.
All right. I will open the public hearing on K2. Make any comments regarding this item? Seeing none, I will go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to council comments, review, and action. Questions? Entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
Second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? A3, resolution of the City Council, City of Greenfield adopting the final initial study mitigated negative declaration for the Greenfield Water Treatment Plant Improvement Project. Staff report, please.
I'll make sure we're on.
Okay, hold on a second. The laptop's not working.
It's not board. Should be working now. But it is done. Somewhere, no. Professionally.
This one working okay?
Now, hopefully it works now.
Yeah.
All right, good. Let's do it quick before something happens. Well, good evening. Okay. Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. My name is Tony Nissen. I'm the project manager for this wastewater treatment plant improvement project. The item before you tonight is the resolution adopting the final initial study and the mitigated negative declaration for the wastewater treatment plant improvement project. You've seen the project before in a lot of forums. This is the environmental review process, and I'd like to introduce our environmental consultant, Olivia Wires, who hopefully is going to give a presentation on this document. While she's doing that, I'll show you. This is what the document looks like. This is why it's not attached to your report. The 948 pages of the documents are on links that are in the staff that you can click on. There's also the mitigation monitoring plan, which is an attachment to the plan, to your report as well.
Good evening, council member. Can you hear me okay? All right. Good evening, council members. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Olivia Wise. I'm a deputy project manager. I jump into the environmental document. Hopefully you're all familiar with the existing wastewater treatment plant. It was originally constructed in the 1950s, and over several decades, it's been improved to ensure that it can receive and treat and dispose of municipal wastewater. Currently, the wastewater treatment plant is designed and permitted to treat 2 million gallons per day of wastewater. And in 2017, and I'm sorry, let me back up. It consists of headworks, primary clarifiers, aerated ponds, and effluent disposal fields. I'll admit I am not a wastewater treatment plant expert, so I'm going to probably read off my slides for the next few slides so I can give you accurate and adequate information. So in 2017, the city made improvements to the aeration ponds to ensure that are you guys getting feedback? Is it okay? Okay.
I think it's okay.
Okay. So in 2017, the city made improvements to the aeration ponds to ensure that the facilities could address or handle the permitted capacity of the facility. But in that time during the improvements, the pond showed signs of overloading. And in 2018, the disposal field berm failed and effluent spilled into adjacent city-owned property. At this point, the Regional Water Quality Control Board issued a notice of violation, which required the city to address the failures and to develop a work plan which would basically address failures and ensure that failures don't happen again. And the compliance work plan would ultimately result in the development of a wastewater treatment plant master plan, which I think you all saw several years ago. During the development of the compliance plan and master plan, the Regional Water Quality Control Board changed their waste discharge requirements as well as the effluent limitations. And so during this evaluation of the existing facility, it was determined that the plant as it currently exists does not meet the effluent limitations that are set by the Regional Water Quality Control Board. And so these were addressed through the development of the wastewater treatment plant and the need to expand the facilities to ensure that these requirements and regulations are met and to support future development and population growth within the city. And so the city adopted the wastewater treatment master plan in 2021, and in 2023, the city approved the preliminary design report, which describes the project as recommended by the master plan, in which we at DD&A then evaluated according or consistent with CEQA, which is the California Environmental Quality Act. So the project description as described and detailed in the PDR, which is the preliminary design report, would construct a new wastewater treatment plant and demolish the existing facility. The improvements associated with the new wastewater treatment plant would include a prefabricated MBR treatment plant and associated infrastructure, new operation and maintenance building, potable water connection to the wastewater treatment plant site, utilities improvements on site and within the adjacent roadways, and to specify that's along Walnut from the wastewater treatment plant west towards Thorpe Avenue, and then between that access road between the existing plant and the disposal fields. The improvements captured in this project would also include stormwater drainage improvements and elevating the site to be out of the 100-year floodplain. The proposed project would also include the construction of recycled water infrastructure, and the recycled water would be used as irrigation at adjacent agricultural fields. So I will say this slide isn't totally useful for the purpose of your review and action, but I think it's important because understanding the land use at a project site when preparing environmental documents allows us to identify how the site is designated within government documents, whether it's the city general plan or the county master plan, general plan. And understanding the land use also ensures that any policies, regulations, et cetera, are captured in the environmental document and that the consistency with those land uses and regulations is evaluated. So in this case, the project site is designated as public, quasi-public, and farmland. And the site is, while it's primarily located in the city of Greenfield, there is a small portion of the project site which is located in unincorporated Monterey County. And the site also contains that farmland that under the Farmland Mapping and Monitoring Program is designated as prime farmland, unique farmland, farmland of statewide importance, and land under Williamson's Act contract. So this is obviously a very agriculturally rich, significant area. And so I felt like it was important just to highlight that the site is surrounded by farmland that is significant regionally. So in terms of the environmental documentation, this was kind of a unique document. It was driven by the type of funding that the city is seeking for the project. So we're looking at funding through the California Safe Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. That's quite a mouthful, and that is provided through the State Water Resource Control Board in partnership with the EPA. So because we have both state as well as federal agencies for the funding mechanism, we needed to prepare an environmental document that covered both federal and state environmental regulations. So the product is a CEQA, what we call a CEQA Plus. And in addition to the state environmental CEQA guidelines, regulations that we needed to address, we also addressed the federal requirements that are listed on the screen. With this, DD&A on behalf of the city prepared an initial study mitigated neg deck or negative declaration that evaluated the potential impacts from construction and operation of the project in the following resource areas. Hopefully, for those of you in the back of the room, you can read this list. In addition to the environmental document and in support of, we prepared technical reports for the areas, the resource areas of air quality and greenhouse gas emissions, biological resources, cultural resources. This also included AB 52 and Section 106 consultations with our Native American tribes and representatives and geotechnical resources. And so with those technical reports, among other background information, the PDR provided by the engineering group, we determined that there would be potentially significant impacts in the following resource areas. So these are aesthetics, air quality, biological resources, cultural resources, energy, greenhouse gas emissions, hazards and hazardous materials, hydrology and water quality, noise, tribal cultural resources, and utilities and service systems. However, these impacts were able to be minimized to less than significant with mitigation. The draft, and let me just go back and just hit on the mitigation measures. I just want to emphasize that these impacts primarily occur during construction. This is when mass quantities of earth are being moved. There's a lot of construction equipment. There's just a lot more happening on the site. The operation of the facility would be more or less consistent with existing operation. And so the mitigation measures really are developed to address construction activities. These include biological surveys prior to construction, measures to reduce air quality impacts, noise reduction measures, etc. So the draft initial study mitigated negative declaration was circulated for a 30-day public review starting April 12th and concluded May 13th. During that time, the city received 3 comment letters from state agencies. These included a letter from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, California Department of Toxic Substance Control, and State Water Resource Control Board. These were pretty standard comment letters, but we took careful review and consideration of the comments received and addressed those within the final initial study mitigated negative declaration. Where necessary and appropriate revisions were made to the draft initial study to clarify and amplify the existing analysis. In addition to the comments, the final ISMND includes minor modifications to the mitigation measures that were developed in the draft initial study. And these were included as part of the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, which I believe has been attached to the council agenda. I have one remaining slide, which I will actually hand back over to Tony, and then I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Olivia. This is kind of the next steps, assuming the council acts tonight is shown on the slide. The recommendation before you is to approve the resolution which adopts the initial study mitigated declaration, which is this whole document, which includes the mitigation reporting and monitoring plan. Then after that, there's a whole series of documents to go with that will allow us to complete our funding application for the state revolving fund. And we hope to do that within a week or so after this action tonight. The rest of the design, we're currently a little over 60% design of the plant. We hope to, by early 2025, complete the design, the detailed design, which is a massive set of documents as well. Then we anticipate the Clean Water Funding Agreement, hopefully by the third quarter of 2025. If that's the case, then we would advertise the project at the end of next year, and construction would start within a few months after that, early in 2026. So with that, That's our presentation, and we'll consider any questions.
All right. Let me go ahead and do the public hearing, and then we'll bring it back to council for questions. So I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on K3. Do we have anybody that would like to comment on this item? See nobody in chambers and no hands raised. I will close the public hearing and bring it back to council comments, review, and action. Questions? All right. I will entertain a motion on this item.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Move to L1, adopt the resolution of the City Council, City of Greenfield, appointing the voting delegate and alternate to the League of Cities, the California Cities Annual Conference. Staff report, please.
So every year, for the League of California Cities, there's a meeting on the Friday, which I believe is the 18th of October. And the city council appoints a delegate and an alternate. And this year, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez is attending, Councilmember Martinez, and City Manager will be there. You can appoint among those three.
Any public comments on L1? Seeing that, I'll bring it back to council comments, review, and action. Anybody want to volunteer?
So the conference will be October 16th through the 18th. And I believe well, I know the meeting will be on the Friday, which I believe is the 18th.
Yeah, usually in the
before
morning,
dismissal.
late morning.
Yeah.
They fall.
Oh, okay. So I'm okay with doing it. I had a conversation with Paul about it, that it's like the last thing that ends up taking things a little bit further out, but I'll just coordinate my travel plans and everything with you.
Motion. We have but we need an alternate also. All right.
Second.
Been moved and second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thanks for volunteering. All right, L2, a resolution of the City Council, City of Greenfield, amending the water service extension agreement for connection of Apple Avenue Water System number 1 and Apple Avenue Water System number 4 to the City of Greenfield Water System to remove the requirement to pay double the standard water rate. Staff report, please.
Checking that this is working.
Yeah.
Sounds like it is now. Great. Good evening, Mayor White and council members. On January 23rd, 2018, the City Council adopted Resolution 2018-08 that included the following: authorizing application to the State Water Resources Control Board for grant funds for the requested city water services extensions for 6 residential properties, and authorizing the city manager to execute water service extension agreements with the affected property owners, the Middlesteads. The extended service agreement with the Middlesteads was then executed by all parties in April of 2019. An annexation of the Middlestead properties has not occurred to date, and Catherine Middlestead has formally requested to amend the agreement to reduce the water rates for the 6 residential units from double water rates to standard water rates due to the residents being low-income families that are unable to afford the water rates. The section of the agreement that is requested to be amended is below, along with the suggested verbiage for said amendment, should the City Council choose to grant the request of the amendment. So the current verbiage is very similar to the proposed verbiage. We're basically just removing the very last line that talks about including but not limited to water rate schedule that provides the rates are doubled for the properties located outside of the city limits. So this agreement with the Middlesteads is actually the mechanism to turn the water on from the Apple Avenue consolidation project in the county. There is a requirement for annexation of that property, and we're actually talking with the state on what the parameters are for that. And that, if they were to annex in, it would drop their rates to standard rates because they'd be in city limits. If that is going to still occur, that's going to be a ways down the road. And so the whole intent of that annexation would be to provide the property owner and the tenants with standard rates. So they're requesting that those rates take effect now, since the annexation may or may not take place in the future. So for budget and financial impact, it would be very minimal. The financial impact as the water services for these properties just started this last week, actually. And the table below shows what the rates would be if they were double or standard rates. So you can see on the tier 1 at double rates per 1,000 gallons is $3.98, and the standard rate is $1.99, and so on from there. So staff recommends that council adopt the proposed resolution amending the water service extension agreement to the Apple Avenue Water System 1 and Apple Avenue Water System 4 to remove the requirement to pay the double rate. And also included is the letter of request from Catherine Middlestead. Questions?
All right, I will open L2 up to public comment. Do you have any public comments? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council comments, review, and action. So this project was funded by a grant, correct?
Correct.
So it didn't cost the city anything to put in the new lines and do the system.
That is correct. It is an upfront cost with a reimbursable grant funding at 100%.
I think the idea makes a lot of sense.
The only concern that I have is about the precedent we're setting here. Because if we go through and reduce the water rates for one property that's outside, then everybody's going to come back and ask for the same thing. And we have the so-called penalty rates for a reason. That's my only concern about it, is because I don't want to see everybody else who's having this happen come back and go, well, we're outside the city limits. Why aren't we getting the rates like they are?
Is there an idea of how many residences that would apply to that are also?
My understanding is that these are the only residences that have an agreement like this.
Not that have an agreement, but that are getting charged double.
We don't have any.
We have none.
None.
We have no
Okay.
service.
We have none.
Right, but we were in the process of adding additional locations like this, correct? Where we're extending it out through a water grant?
No. We're not. This is the only one.
This is the only one?
Yeah.
This project's been going on, I know, since since you and I got on council.
Yeah.
So that's been going on for like 5 or 6 years. So and these projects take a long time to play out. So I don't have a big problem with reducing the rate. I think those are mostly rental units that are being brought in. So.
Correct.
I don't have a problem with it either. Like I said, I'm just concerned about the precedent. And if somebody else does come in the future, they're going to expect to have standard water rates and not the double rates as well.
Any other comments? Which way would we like to go? Need a motion?
I move to approve the
I'll
request.
second the motion.
Move in second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. L3, a resolution of the City Council, City of Greenfield accepting utility access easement on parcel 109-221-001-000, also known as 1263 Apple Avenue, to facilitate maintenance of the city-owned portion, new Apple Avenue water supply infrastructure installed for existing multifamily farm housing. Staff report, please.
Yes, so the city is currently constructing under agreement previously approved by the city of Greenfield and using state grant funds a potable water supply to existing multifamily farm worker housing on Apple Avenue and 13th Street, formerly using local shallow well water supplied by Small State Water System number 3. This property is located within the city limits and has been without potable water for many years. referring to the Rocha property. Currently, there are no budget or financial impacts as a part of the approval of this proposed resolution. Costs and fees describing and approving this easement are being borne by the state of California under the state revolving fund grant. The city, as a condition of receiving the grant funds, will assume ongoing maintenance of the water supply system components belonging to the city. And the city surveyor has prepared, and the public works director and city engineer do recommend that the city council approve accepting and recording the proposed easement as described on the attached easement documents. And so what we are looking at is we have a looped line that goes through part of the farm worker housing. And so we want to be able to have the means to access, maintain, and repair that line on the private property. And so this would be a utility easement granted by the Rocha family.
Any public comments on L3? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council comments, review, and action.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Then moved and seconded, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
L4, discussion by direction through staff regarding possible city municipal code amendments related to recreational vehicle parking. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Mayor White and City Council. I'll be presenting this item tonight. As you know, at the June 25th, 2024 City Council meeting, the City Council directed staff to add an item to the City Council meeting agenda to discuss citizen concerns related to recreational vehicle parking on city streets. I've prepared a report and will be presenting information about the city's municipal code, but there are police department staff and the city manager here who would be available to answer questions about actually implementing or enforcement of any ordinance changes. So I've presented on the next few slides the verbatim wording from the city's ordinances just so that you can see them in person. So this section 17-58040 subsection C3 says that recreational vehicle parking, recreational vehicles of any owner, tenant, guest, or visitor may be parked on any highway, street for a maximum period of 72 hours. Any request to extend this period for guests and visitors shall be submitted in writing to the chief of police for consideration and authorization. Recreational vehicle storage is prohibited and required front and side street yards. However, recreational vehicle parking is permitted outside of required front and street side yard setback areas and within interior side and rear yards when screened by a 6-foot tall fence, wall, or landscape barrier. So it's important to note here that as the code is currently written, it doesn't say how long a recreational vehicle needs to be off of the street to reset that 72 hours. So it just sets a 72-hour limit. In another section of the code, the term recreational vehicle is defined. It's a wheeled enclosed piece of equipment containing a motor or towing device to facilitate travel. It is duly used as a temporary travel home and or a full-time home. RVs are commonly known as motorhomes, caravans, travel trailers, fifth wheel trailers, or truck campers. The code also says that inoperable or unregistered vehicles, trailers, and vessels Any vehicle, trailer, or vessel which is inoperable and/or without current registration shall be stored entirely within an enclosed structure and shall not be parked or stored in any yard within a residential zoning district or neighborhood. So this means that if any vehicle, trailer, or vessel is inoperable or unregistered, it's prohibited from parking in a front yard or a neighborhood for any period of time unless it's in an enclosed structure. And then the last code section that it relates to recreational vehicles says that no person who owns or has possession, custody, or control of any vehicle, trailer, mobile home, or boat shall park such vehicle, trailer, mobile home, or boat upon any street or alley for more than a consecutive period of 72 hours. So the last three code sections on the previous slides were from the city zoning ordinance, and this section is from the city's vehicle ordinance. We also did a little research to see what other cities do with respect to RV parking. And I included in your agenda packet a table that summarizes just some other cities, how they handle parking on the street, parking in yards, and whether or not there are exceptions and whether or not there's a permitting requirement. And you'll see, if you look at that table, that there's a wide variety of what is and isn't allowed in different cities. But the city of Greenfield's ordinance is not atypical. It falls within what many other cities do. So this slide, I don't expect you to be able to read it, but this is what is in your agenda packet. I just wanted to highlight two cities. Fresno first, because it's pretty similar to what the city of Greenfield does. RVs over 20 feet are prohibited and unhitched trailers are prohibited with the exception of parking on the street for 24 hours within a 7-day period, and a bona fide guest may park in front of a guest residence for up to 7 days. And then with respect to parking in a yard, in single-family zones, RVs may only park on non-permeable surfaces in fenced-in areas and may not project beyond the front limits of the home. And there are exceptions for loading and unloading. And then in multifamily zones, RVs may only be parked in a fully enclosed garage with a non-permeable surface. And then I also highlighted the city of Hollister because it's a bit of on the other extreme. They prohibit street parking unless the owner applies for a permit to store the RV in the driveway or on the street in front of the residence for 72 hours. And the permit is only allowed when the owner is preparing for a trip, unloading from a trip, or cleaning or repairing the RV after a trip. Off-street, RVs may only be parked in a fully enclosed structure or in a rear or side yard if the RV is less than 30 feet long, and it must be a specific distance from the building or property line. So if the city council did decide to amend the RV ordinance, the next step would be for it to go, any amendments to the ordinance, the zoning ordinance in particular, to go to the planning commission. The city's municipal code requires zoning ordinance changes to first go to planning commission for recommendation of changes to city council. And then they would come to council for approval. Alternatively, if the city wasn't ready to commit to actually changing the ordinance, they could entertain the idea of some sort of a test pilot program where they tried something just to see whether or not it was effective. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Let's go ahead and do public comments on this item, please. I will open it up for public comments on L4.
First of all, thank you for bringing this issue for discussion. My concern is that the current ordinance has been interpreted as being able to move a recreational vehicle, in the case that I presented to you, a camper, back and forth indefinitely, thereby storing the camper beyond 72 hours on the same street. The camper was stored in front of the house for much of 57 days before the camper disappeared from the street. For now,
because it could come back. And so I reviewed the summary of the ordinances of other cities. And so I did think of some questions that if a recreational vehicle was allowed to be parked on the street, how long could it stay on the same street? Because like I said, in my case, all they did was move it back and forth, back and forth. And so it was there more than the 72 hours on the same street. And then if on a different street, how long before they would be allowed to return to the original street? And then in front of whose home would this vehicle be allowed to be parked? In my case, I told you that much of the time it was parked right in front of my house. And so that caused some problems that I will address. If there are some time extensions, as some of their cities have, for how long would those extensions be? And then, and I think this one in the city here too, I think it would be it would be up to the chief, I believe. And how many times could someone ask for an extension? Like, could that go on indefinitely? I'm concerned about the size of the recreational vehicle because in the summary, it talked about like 30 feet wide. Well, in my case, the camper was 7 feet wide and 7 feet tall, but 13 feet long. But what did it do? It blocked the entire front view of my house. More importantly, it caused a safety issue, blocking my view when I tried to back out of my driveway, especially at night. Man, that was I was concerned. And so I feel that the existing ordinance does need to be revised, and I really hope that it moves forward, because if we do if you decide on a pilot program, how long is that going to take and under what conditions, etc. So I would like to be able to go to the Planning Commission and give input on that. So that's what I'm advocating for. A revision definitely is needed, and that I would hope that it would go to the Planning Commission, and then they could, I don't know exactly how it works, but then I guess they could bring the recommendations after maybe hearing some more from the public, because I certainly would like to go before them, since I'm sure they haven't heard what I've had to say. Thank you very much for your attention to this.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Jose Antonio Villarreal. I'm just here to reinforce my sister's concern. The point is that no matter how you go, the pilot would be a lot better to find out ways to better the situation. Because the way it is right now, like she said, they're just moving the trailer from one place to another. That goes for the vehicles too. They stay on the same street. You have a property. If you can store it in front of your property and it's not, and the tank is not on the sidewalk, I don't see no problem why it shouldn't stay there if that's where you want to keep it. Safety concerns, if you put a trailer on the back with a 7-foot tall fence, a fire happens, it's going to be a safety concern. It's much better if it's in the front, because in the front, it's on the side. And firemen can go, whatever emergency it is. So I'm in favor, if you got property enough, big enough to where a trailer fits and it's not damaging or putting risk at nobody, safety risk or whatever, I mean, what's the problem? It's your property. Pretty soon, we're not going to be able to do nothing in our property without coming to you or without going to all these measures. It's your property. As long as you're not endangering anybody or you're not doing nothing illegal, I don't see nothing wrong with it. But if you have a pilot program, you can do 2 or 3 pilot programs. One doesn't work, one has to work eventually. But I'm in the belief that it's your property. That's why you bought the house. Now, whatever you put in it, if you're not endangering anybody and it's not in, I mean, what's the sense of them buying a property if you can't do nothing? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I kind of agree with that gentleman. I have a trailer. And when I go on camping or something, it takes me a few days to get it all ready to go and stuff. And I have it parked in my driveway. I don't have it in the street. I can understand people putting mobile homes or trailers on the street for 72 hours. It impedes the traffic. I don't see no problem in having, like mine, parked in the driveway for 5 days or so. You know, I just got back from volunteering for the California Rodeo, and my motorhome, my trailer is filthy, and it's going to take me days to clean it up. So I do store it over here, but I would like to have it in my driveway for at least 5 days. But the other on the street, no. And the other concern I have is we're complaining about trailers that are in the street or in the driveway. Gonzalez now doesn't have an ordinance. Gonzalez, they can park their trailers, motorhomes in the driveway forever. Because I have a relative who does that. And they don't have an ordinance on that. And, my complaint is in my neighborhood, I have so many cars that are parked in the driveway with about 3 or 4 inches of dust on it, broken down and stuff, actually almost blocking the entrance to the house. And I asked the code enforcement officer, well, as long as it's on the cement, it's okay. I disagree. I disagree with that. We need to get rid of it. In fact, the other day, Sunday, I stopped a female police officer over here on Cherry, right around the corner. And I told her that there's a white old pickup that's been sitting in that spot for weeks, right in front of the mailbox, where if I came up to park to get my mail or something, I couldn't do it. And it's almost in the fire hazard. And I told her, nothing got done. It's still there. So I don't know, what the situation is with these things, but we need to cite them. If they don't get it out of the way, tow them out of there. But that's what I have to say is I rather, as long as mine's in my driveway, I'd rather keep it there for more than 72 hours just to clean it up and take it back to storage.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
Good evening again. I have 2 boats. I have a sailboat, I have a speedboat, but I use the common courtesy of my neighbors and on my street. I don't park my boats at my house. I have them parked somewhere else. Okay, I also have a horse ranch, and that's where my boats are. But the thing is, when it's time to go to the lake or something like that, I will pull my boat to my house to get it ready and prepared and get on the trip to go out and have fun. Okay, but it's all about common courtesy regarding of respecting your neighbors. Okay, working together as a team. Okay, if your neighbors are happy, everybody is happy. Don't get them upset. That's what it comes down to. Okay, I understand if you have an RV, you got to get it ready for the trip, and when the trip is over, you got to get it cleaned up so that way it's ready for the next trip again. So that way when you get ready to go for the next trip, all you're doing is just bringing it to the house, loading it up, and then getting on the road to go have fun. Okay, but it's usually more than just a couple of days to unload it and clean it up and get it ready for the next trip. Okay, and getting it to ensure also that that your trailer and your vehicle is not going to break down out there on the highway, and then you become maybe a victim out there on the road, okay? To make sure that your vehicle is roadworthy, okay? Preparing for the trip. Vehicles really shouldn't be permanently parked in the city, in the neighborhood, where it becomes an inconvenience. As the lady mentioned, I'm trying to back out and I trying to safely back out, and I'm taking a chance of getting hit because I can't see as I'm backing out or trying to get onto the road out of the driveway. Okay, it's respecting your neighbors. That's what it comes down to. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your comments. Anyone else? See any, I'll bring you back to council comments, review, and action.
I actually have a quick question, and you may not be able to answer this, either of you. It mentions that we actually do have the capability of getting requesting for the chief of police an extension beyond 72 hours. How often do we actually get those requests?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
City Council, how you doing? My name is Andrew Paredes, Captain Andrew Paredes. I'm not even sure. I mean, that's a good question, but I haven't seen it because I haven't heard the chief say that somebody's requested that. So I'm not sure if it's happened. So
that's what I was thinking. I don't think it's really happening.
That's what I would think too. Okay.
Because I believe the chief had said something. Somebody's requested it, but he's never said anything.
Okay. And that, like I said, that's kind of what I was expecting. I was expecting that people really don't follow the process and ask for extensions beyond 72 hours. So that's very much in line with what I was expecting. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I wanted to ask a clarifying question. So if we decided to do a pilot, is the process the same as far as it going to planning commission first for their recommendation on what the pilot should be before we move forward?
No, in that case, we would just ask for some guidance as to what you would want that pilot program to include. And then we would bring it back for your approval and probably set a time limit on it, you know, how long we expect it to be in place. So no, that doesn't require planning commission approval.
I do have one request. I see you did a survey, but you did a survey on a lot of big cities like San Diego, Fresno, Dublin. I was wondering if we could get an idea of what the other local communities are doing. You know, King City, Soledad, Gonzales, kind of, so we get kind of the same demographic and we kind of see what is more standard. So.
Yeah, we can do that. I had assistance with the survey and I got the impression that those are the ones that they found, but I can ask them to specifically look at the kind of South Monterey County communities. I did think that although Greenfield's a small city, it does have big city parking problems. So that's why we included that. That's just my impression.
That is correct.
I like the idea of the pilot program, seeing if something works.
It just feels like that might be the fastest and most efficient way to get like at least a temporary solution or start working towards a more permanent solution to try something out. You know, as one of our speakers said, like, yes, of course, you know, we all want to be good neighbors, but we have to take into consideration in our decision that not all neighbors will act with consideration. And so, you know, that's what the code is for. But I also, about the 72-hour rule and moving the vehicles back and forth, like if we're gonna make some kind of pilot on that or suggest a pilot regarding that, I would want to know if the other cities, if it means full removal from the street and those, you know, those sort of gray areas that we don't have answers for.
Also the distance problem that came up with you're moving it a few inches. Are we talking about 20 feet or what would work? What would be better?
Right, or like clear off the street for X amount of days or whatever that is.
I'd like to see a pilot program. On my street, I do have a trailer that comes, I don't know whose it is, but it'll just be there for 2 days, 3 days. They'll drop it, they disconnect, they take off, they come back, and then a couple of days later it's gone. Don't know what's that, but it's a very long one. And so it takes up probably parking of 3 vehicles because the truck is big and then the trailer is really big too. I'm not sure what's going on and why it's even there, but it does create a problem because we're already very overcrowded on our street right now. I'd like to see a pilot program and, really look at the permit process. I have a family member that asked to come to my house and she said, well, I'll bring my own trailer, I'll stay for a week. And I thought, well, wait a minute, I don't even know if you can do that. So I think there might be exceptions, to the 72 hours. But again, I don't know what that would look like unless you bring some more information forward.
I personally feel like that the suggestions that we've heard today that residents be allowed to park their recreational vehicles on their own property for more than the 72 hours. I think we do still need to set a limit to that, but that's a good starting point so that they're not on the street. And so if you have guests, then they can bring the trailer and it's permissible to park it in your own driveway. I think that should be part of our starting point.
As long as it doesn't encroach into the sidewalk or whatever.
Right.
And as long as it's registered.
Right. If it still meets all
Right.
all of the legalities and all the other rules,
Absolutely.
but just allowing for the parking on one's own driveway.
And as far as your comment about the large trailer, I think there was something that was said there that there is a limit on the length. I think so.
Oh, okay.
And addressing your comment about how far they have to move, I know for example, Santa Cruz has zones set up and you actually have to move the vehicle out of the zone after that 72 hours is up. And the zones are on the city's website. They've got, I think, 6 or 7 zones in the city and you can leave it in. It has to be in your home zone. And after 72 hours, you have to remove it from the zone completely. I think something like that would be helpful. I also like, which one is it? Dublin's may park fronting the owner's residence. And I think that's the key point there, is you can't just be parked anywhere on the street. It has to be in front of your residence. If it is going to be in the street for 48, 72 hours.
Okay. Is that enough direction?
Yeah, I guess my only question is, do you want to see more information next, or do you want to see a draft pilot program and more information? Maybe.
I think the latter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, we don't have another meeting until early September, so.
Okay. All right, let's get something moving on. That sounds good. All right. Item L5, a resolution of the City Council, City of Greenfield approving a professional services agreement with NJA Architecture not to exceed $1,228,531 and supplementally appropriating $1,228,531 for architectural design services and grant handling assistant not to exceed $30,000. Provided MNS engineers for the new Greenfield Recreation Center and Park, authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute the terms of the agreement. Staff report.
Good evening again. As the city is currently designing the newly planned 9-acre recreation center and park project located at the corner of Apple Avenue and 12th Street, the project will be partially funded by grant funds under the statewide Park Development and Community Revitalization Grant Program, otherwise known as Prop 68, with local matching funds. The city subsequently entered into an agreement with the state for receipt of these funds authorized by Resolution 2021-05. The state has committed $8.5 million towards the initially estimated $13,779,000 project costs. Funds are required to be spent locally, followed by reimbursement invoices submitted by the city to the state. The proposed improvements include a building approximately 22,613 square feet that will house a gym, locker rooms, weight room, pantry, nutrition center, teaching kitchen, classroom, office, storage rooms, multi-use sports field, accessible playground, plaza and shade structure, pathways, seating, landscape and irrigation, parking for 100 vehicles, bioswales, and a rain harvesting tank. Currently, the site is vacant. So the city issued requests for proposals to design the recreation center and park facility on April 25th, 2024. and we received 10 responsive submittals on May 30th, 2024. The city selection committee reviewed each of the proposals that resulted in a rating for each proposal. From the ratings, the committee selected 4 firms to interview. Of those 4 firms, the selection committee then met afterwards to discuss the pros, cons, and who may be a best fit for the city. And the committee unanimously recommended the proposal from NJA Architecture. The city has applied for, again, and received the grant from the state for $8.5 million. And the grant did include reimbursement of up to $700,000 for the property that we did purchase. So NJA's architectural proposal cost for the design of the Recreation Center and Park project is $1,228,531. The approval of this contract with NJA Architecture includes optional tasks in the amount of $165,954. The optional tasks include NJA architectural support during the bidding and construction administration process. If the city does not require NJA architecture support during the bidding and construction administration process, the city is not obligated to use or pay for these services. The contract amount with NJA Architecture is reimbursable expense through the state grant. MNS Engineers would have a contract to not exceed $30,000 for grant management assistance on an as-needed basis. The intent is for the recreation manager to be the lead over grant management for this project, and the recreation manager would ask for M&S Engineers assistance as needed. The contract amount for M&S Engineers would be reimbursable through the grant. So the next item says this is a supplemental appropriation. And it would be for a total of $1.258531. So the reasoning for having to ask for this supplemental appropriation is through our new budgeting process through ClearGov. There was a little step that was missed. It was put into the budget for this year at $2.25 million under grant funds, but it was missed on putting it in the funding source since it's reimbursable through the grants. So it was just a clerical type situation. It was not intentionally missed. So unfortunately, we have to come back and ask for that supplemental appropriation. And this is our first year in ClearGov. And I have Jesus here to answer any questions about that, if you do have any. But the city staff recommends City Council approve the professional services agreement with NJA Architecture for the design services, and also to supplementally appropriate the funding for the resolution. Again, that is all reimbursable.
Jesus, did you want to make any comments as far as staff report?
Yeah, no, my only comment would be that yes, all the, the funding that we're asking for is all reimbursable through the state.
Okay. Any public comments on item L5?
I apologize, I came in on the tail end of the report, but you mentioned there's a committee. I was on this committee, when it initially started. So who comprises this committee that you mentioned? Because with the Prop 84 grant, which I was also on, we were part of the process through the whole way, which included selecting the architect. And just wondering what's going on here. Was I fired?
No, so yes, Stephanie was part of a committee that was, supporting the grant, promotion, community input, helping, as we were gearing towards acquiring this grant. What Jamie was talking about is the committee that was interviewing city staff that was interviewing the different architecture firms with the RFP. Yeah, so no, you were not fired.
Any other comments?
As you all know, during my spare time, I'm one of the 5 on the school district, okay? And I'm very much into what you all doing right now, okay? I believe it takes a village to raise a child, okay? Everybody in our town needs to take part in doing something. And I have been, I'm serious, I have been waiting here in Greenfield since 1985 for this to happen, okay? I highly recommend, okay, my dad was in the military. Every 2 years we moved to a new post. So I grew up as majority of the children from the military grew up on the post, military post. And we had youth recreational facilities where we entertain our children in organized activities. And this is what has been missing here in our town, okay? And I'm finally so excited that you guys are making. I congratulate you all, okay? I'm gonna make a suggestion, okay? Near Fort Ord, on General Jim Moore, that's the name of the street, next to the old post, main post chapel, there is the recreational military facility for youth center, okay? I highly recommend, if you ever get a chance, stop by, take a look in there, what is happening there. Because when Fort Ord closed, that section of the town was annexed by the city of Seaside. And they didn't reinvent the wheel or changed it because it is the perfect wheel. It's round and it's making it happen. It's entertaining our children. I promote after school activities. The school bell rings. First thing, majority of the kids run out of the school, but I hold on to a majority of them for the after school program. I give them a snack. Then we're going to go out on the yard. We're going to burn some energy. Then we're going to go in the classroom. We're going to do our homework. And then go back out there on the yard and burn some more energy, and then go back into the classroom and read a book, do something that's educational. And then before the parents come and pick them up, by golly, let's feed them a dinner. Okay, I mean, I have done my best, okay? And I'm finally so excited to see the city stepping up and making it happen. Take a tour at that recreational facility that Seaside has over there at the old Fort Ord. Take a look at how they are entertaining our children. If we don't entertain our children, there is this evil gang that we have out here in our community, and it's called the Norteños. They are actively out there trying to recruit our children. So we need to do our part to save our children, and we're going to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any other comments?
You have a short announcement here to make?
After the vote.
Okay.
All right. Council comments, review, action.
So actually, who was on the committee?
We missed a call.
We missed one caller, I'm sorry.
Oh.
B, I think you're up.
Beatriz?
Hi, great comments there. My only thing is, it was horrible with the system. I hope that you all can think about it and put in a new system. It's very shameful that one of the visitors had to go sit at the city manager's table. Just wanted to go ahead and put that in there. We need a system ASAP, one that everybody can understand and hear well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
So who was on the committee? You didn't answer that question.
Yeah, so I can't answer that question. It was Jesus Perez, the recreation manager, Evelyn Mesa, assistant planner, myself, and the public works intern, Jennifer Mendez. And I'd like to just share with the group, I was gonna do this after, but that Jennifer went through the whole process from reviewing each and every RFP and scoring them, to meeting with us and doing the interviews, and then providing input when we all decided on NJ architecture. So it was quite an endeavor, and she did a really great job. And she is from Greenfield, and I told her she will always be able to say that she was a part of the recreation center design because she helped choose that architecture firm, if the council so chooses to award the contract. I'd like to thank Jennifer.
Right. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Let's get it built. All right. Legal, do you want to read the closed session?
Yes, City Council is going to meet in closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, conference with legal counsel related to existing litigation. And the case is Andrew Sandoval versus the City of Greenfield. Councilmember Tipton will be recusing himself from this item, so I'll let him announce his reason for recusal and then leave the dais before we take public comment.
I will be recusing myself since this directly affects me.
And then I'll just ask that you leave the dais before we take public comment. Thank you.
All right, Ali, we'll open this item up for public comment.
Remember, Jürgen got a few extra seconds. I might need those too. Good evening, Stephanie Garcia, before you as a District 1 resident. I am compelled to place my thoughts regarding this agenda item on the record before you go into closed session. I have seen the lengthy order issued by the court. I was surprised that the court decided sua sponte, which is Latin for on its own, to review past agendas regarding the council's 2 prior appointments to aid in its decision. Both of those appointments were the result of an entirely different process from what we observed in December 2022 and September 2023. At the December meeting, the council made direct nominations from the dais for Drew Tipton, John Huerta, and B. Diaz, none of whom received a majority vote, ultimately leading to Ms. Rodriguez's appointment through an application process. The September meeting was to consider filling the second vacancy of District 1 representation in less than a year. The agenda stated that the staff recommended action was to consider filling vacancy. The meeting was well attended on that item, with many of the public commenting. The council then considered filling the vacancy and even opened up public comment for a second time. To consider is to think carefully about something, typically before making a decision, and in this case, take action, which the agenda also stated. Then, as with the December meeting, a direct nomination was made from the dais. This time, however, a majority vote approved it. District 1 has had 3 representatives in its first half session. Ironically, the individual who essentially forced the city into district election and is not a resident of Greenfield now seeks removal of District 1's representation from the representative who has served the longest, was prepared for and dutifully attended meetings, and worked with the council to move the city forward. It was amazing to see you all finally working together towards a common good. It lets me stay home because I can trust your decisions. Lastly, I would like to say that I don't think any of you did anything wrong. I believe that this council should not be held to having violated the Brown Act. You did your jobs at the September meeting, stating concerns, asking clarifying questions, debating, and taking action only after you were reassured it was acceptable. Mr. Tipton certainly didn't do anything wrong as he wasn't even at that meeting. And the public most certainly did not do anything wrong by attending and voicing their opinions twice, no less, which is what the Brown Act seeks to ensure it's right to do. My hope is for Mr. Sandoval to see how detrimental his petition was and is to the resident of District 1 and drop the petition. Otherwise, please consider appealing the court's order and send it up to the 6th District.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else? If not, we'll adjourn to closed session. Oh, I'm sorry. We do have one. Sorry.
Hi, Beatriz Diaz here.
Go ahead, B.
Yeah, I myself think they would have sent an unfair appointment. You know, I know how everybody feels, but this is in my gut feeling, is that consider does not mean to appoint, and that's what was done. The agenda, it was to consider, not to appoint, you know, so, and Mr. Tipton was not even present at the time of the meeting. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we will adjourn to close.
I need a copy of that. I need a copy. Oh.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was only one person on
There's only
there
one.
at the time.
Yeah.
When we convened those sessions.
When do I get to come back up?
After you report out.
We'll reconvene to open session. There is no reportable action. Move on to the city attorney report.
I have nothing to report.
City manager report.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
All right. And I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you.